Hey, what is up, guys? Evanaldo here. This is going to be a Bitcoin Ethereum update, the case that we possibly already hit the bottom. If you like the videos, please leave a thumbs up. So let's get right into it here. So there's definitely a few things that make it a little bit more likely that we've hit the bottom already rather than how it looked, back in June or back in July or, the previous 4 months really. And one of them being kind of if we just look at money flow in some of these high time frames like the 16-day, and the reason I look at that a lot is because not too many people look at it. I feel like you get a little bit of an advantage there, a little bit of an edge. So money flow, this is kind of at this area. You hit your bottom here, and then you had maybe a double bottom pattern or whatever. Quite a few months later here, it was like 8 months later, and then you got that area, and then you were kind of home free. That was kind of your accumulation zone. I mean, you had a big accumulation zone, and this market has looked more similar to 2013, 2014, that bull market, rather than, for the obvious reason, a double top pattern, rather than where you just went straight up like in 2017. And so that was your bottom here, and then you would compare that to your June low. This bottom, where the capitulation, Celsius went under, a lot of things, went under, Voyager went under. It got ugly. And there's a lot of things that show that we could be in that kind of accumulation phase. So it's kind of as soon as these EMAs, get in the gray in the 16-day. Look at this. I mean, and I'm not saying that we're gonna, if we did hit the bottom, I do not think that, we're going high and mighty up to 100K, real soon, like some stupid article on Cointelegraph that's just trying to get clickbait said. That's nonsense. Going up to 100K, then back down to 10K. What the? That's got to be... All right, anyway, let's focus on this video. But, in this accumulation phase, right here, it was that boring kind of sideways year, all the way from January to really September. And I think we may be able to have somewhat of a repeat of that. And the reason why, if you look at kind of, the Bitcoin chart right here, this was kind of that same accumulation phase, that sideways year. We could be getting towards that, and that would be a possibility that Bitcoin and Ethereum, because I think the odds that the S&P 500, that the Nasdaq have both bottomed out are very low, very low right now. We had so far it's mainly driven by the rate hikes, but then you're getting into bad earnings reports. Unemployment, I think, will start to rise. Things of that nature that will lead into a deeper recession. If history isn't indicate any, if history repeats itself there, we're about halfway through, I would say. But what happens halfway through? I'm not going to show you the chart because of time, but trust me on it. Typically, gold and silver bottom out about halfway through recessions. When the bear market, not halfway through technical recessions, but halfway through the bear markets of the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq, both in 01 and 08. I think we're halfway through. I think there's a decent probability that gold and silver have bottomed. What is the big purpose of Bitcoin? A hedge against inflation, something that can go up while everything else goes down. You get what I'm saying? Well, the market crashes, something that could go up better and act kind of like what gold and silver has acted like, a more modern version of it. Do I think gold and silver are completely going to be obsolete? Probably not yet. I think, you got maybe, even silver may have a good probability of outperforming Bitcoin if it goes up, 100% in the next year, and Bitcoin is just generally sideways in this, same range of high teens to high 20s or something like that. It could be that big range. This was not just looking at, how we were in this big range for that entire, 10-month period. This was a 50% area. And that was a low, market cap area too. It's crazy how sideways that was. But you didn't have leverage trading, you didn't have other things. There's other things that could keep us a little bit more volatile here. But at the same time, a lot of people, since it's the bear market, they're not into leverage trading as much. There's not the leverage in the market anymore. So it may be a little bit more boring. People are too afraid to do it. People don't have, as we enter the recession, people don't have the money to just gamble on it and go 100x leverage, degenerate, and try to chase it all the way to the top. People kind of got burnt out with that and realized, that strategy, keep DCing in and 10x leverage, that doesn't work too well, unfortunately, when you have an asset that crashed over 70%. But, look at this range we could be in. Instead of that 50%, we could be in kind of a 30% range, possibly from 18K all the way to, I think you'd come higher than 24, 25K, but it could be, it absolutely could be that, especially if it bottomed out right there. And then that gives like your major accumulation phase. That's the case for just your major accumulation phase here, kind of like this, kind of like, it was a little less. So you could see it a lot better on the 12-day here. You can see it a lot better on the 12-day. It's kind of where these EMAs get into the gray. These are, that's just a big accumulation phase right there. They've been in the gray for a while, and it's kind of marked that. And I think there's a probability of it. I thought, originally, I thought we didn't hit the bottom. I still think there's a decent probability, especially with everything going on in the world. Like, let's be real. There's a good probability that we still could go lower. I'm not saying that we can't, and I would also, kind of not financial advice, but kind of what I'm doing, I'm going to start DCAing back in, especially based on, this big accumulation phase here when you're in the red on the 12-day. But I think I may wait a couple weeks because, we also have time here. And, in terms of altcoins, we'll talk about ETH too. I think, you want to do primarily Bitcoin until the Bitcoin dominance gets higher here. And I think inevitably it has to get a little bit higher. We also have the probability of government regulation, coming in as well to probably tank a lot of altcoins possibly and bring the Bitcoin dominance up. I don't know, how it's going to look. I'd say we'll see that sometime in 2023, probably. It'll probably be before the next bull run. So yeah. But this area right here, as the S&P 500 made lower lows, you're still above your June lows here, and you're starting to come up a bit. You know what I mean? You've had less volatility in the S&P 500 as well. You're bringing, this is, kind of the bullish case, you're bringing that area, and you didn't see, I think if we don't see the capitulation, within probably a few weeks, I would say a few weeks, then there's a higher probability. Like the longer we go without that capitulation, the higher the probability probably becomes that it won't happen. Now, if we look at, the 2013 cycle, we had the two tops in April and in November. Now, if you remember here, first top in April, second top in November, what are the odds we repeat that exactly and hit our bottom in January? History never really repeats itself exactly. I don't think it's too likely. And you also have the argument that, every bear market, I believe, has been shorter than the last. This was shorter, so it still could be shorter if we bottom out in November, and I think we will. You've been sideways so much here. You're either going to break down or just continue that kind of trend, I feel like, and just have this accumulation phase. Now, we could also have something like this, another black swan event with everything going on in the world with Russia, who knows? A lot of possibilities here, But, not financial advice. I think if you don't have any Bitcoin, if you're very light, now ain't the worst time to get in. Do I think, the thing is, what's the sense of buying something if something else is going to outperform it? We look at, most likely, if you watch my videos, you've seen that I think that silver is going to outperform the S&P 500. That's almost a given over the next year at least, I would say. Couple years, I would say. We'll see. I mean, it's typically a few years at least. It could be a 10-year period, like 01 to 11, but, let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Silver versus Bitcoin USD. Now, monthly for the first time ever coming into the green here. You could absolutely, if Bitcoin just stays kind of in that 20, and Kevin O'Leary too, this is another, I forgot to mention, another big point of the probability of Bitcoin kind of being a sideways 2023 is Kevin O'Leary said, until regulation really comes in, we're just going to stay at the current prices. Now, people would say that's ludicrous, that's ridiculous, how could you stay sideways for that long? It happened before, 2015. It's a weird new asset class. There's, different things. It's a whole different beast. As time evolves, things change. So there is that possibility. You could absolutely, if silver has a nice bull run, outperform this by 100% over maybe up until the next bull run starts sometime in end of 2024 if it repeats that way. And then that would be the trade to make. And you just double the Bitcoin you had. Now, how much should you bet on this? Not too much. Be careful. Not financial advice, but be careful. We don't know. This could be the time where metals just don't perform the way they've done previously in recessions. So yeah, that's the other thing. But I'm hedged in a way where for long term, I think I'm really going to benefit very well. Just if you just put, silver versus S&P 500, you're ahead about, I believe, 20% or more so far this year. So we're seeing, even though it's down on the year a bit, we're still seeing, we're seeing metals showing some strength here. Now, back to Bitcoin, just going to show you some other charts, kind of, lower time frames, what we could see here. I want to look at let's look at the 7-day, yeah. You got 3 LXs right now. Now, that could be enough potentially to be a bottom. Maybe you need one more. And I think if you come down, 300 weekly moving average, I think we're going to test that 300 weekly moving average at one point. I don't know when it's going to be, whether, we bottomed out or whether we're going to make a new low to test it. I think, it's getting close to the point. Let me show you that 300 weekly moving average, because it's getting really close to the point where you could test it without even making a lower low. Let's see that right now. Yeah, yep, just about. It's at that double bottom, so you wouldn't even make a lower low. If you do make a lower low, the other pattern here that we've talked about, 400 weekly moving average, this is going to be huge, I feel like. Because 200 weekly moving average was this bottom, 300 was this bottom. What's the next pattern? 400. And then, right to there, that's 80% down. That would make sense for all the previous bear markets. So you do have that possibility. Weekly money flow here is, this would tell you we're at the bottom or very close to it, maybe another 5% down. I don't know how that would happen, but this one is your main case that we're not there yet, because look at where this money flow is. This would, I don't think we're going to come down 56%. It's possible anything could happen, but I would say it would be more towards these areas. This was kind of just a liquidation wick down when the market cap is smaller, but 35% down would bring you, especially from where we are right now, I'm curious where that would be, right to that 400 weekly moving average, which is going to be a huge point. Now, it could absolutely go there. In terms of long term, though, if you look at your 12-day time frame, as long as Bitcoin, isn't going to do anything wild and really wild. I mean, if it follows S&P 500 and the NASDAQ on the way down to their bottoms, that's the really bearish case where you could go to 7K or 5K or 3K or whatever, you know what I mean? Really bad numbers. It doesn't look like that's going to happen at that point, given that we've been in the sideways range. It doesn't seem like that's going to happen at the moment. So kind of in that accumulation area. So I do think it is a very good accumulation area. We did confirm in the red here as well. So, what am I doing with this? More of a DCA into, Bitcoin. I'm going to start, it depends. I'm really Bitcoin heavy right now. I'm going to get some more Ethereum. And the way I'm going to do it, when I'm going to start doing that is, I think I'm going to wait till after the midterms. I'm debating it, whether to wait till after the midterms, because we know what happened in 2018 right after the midterms. That was rough. But bullish div right here, that kind of takes away. It doesn't mean anything to me until it confirms, but I think it will confirm. It kind of takes away the notion of the red dot bringing you down further. Also, if we look at, I believe the 3-week is, deep green dot there. This is the only one. When your EMAs come into the gray, that starts to be the good place to accumulate. So we're kind of in that phase. If we look at, curious about the 12-day on ETH at that level. You're in that kind of phase. And I don't think you're going to get any crazy, bull run like last time. I think it's going to be more of just a long accumulation kind of area between, maybe 2,000 and 1,100 or something, maybe even 1 to 2,000, this accumulation area, before we really see either government regulation or, the next bull run in 2024 or whenever it may be, maybe even later, we'll see. Probably 2024 though. So that's the main kind of macro thing right here. I mean, I normally obviously do more, the short-term stuff, but here technically not a bullish div, but I kind of, the 16-day, that kind of makes up for it. And, big area, big thing that doesn't happen too often. You got time, inevitably. And I think the other thing too, coming into the red here, you already bottomed out when it happened here, already bottomed out when it happened here. So I think we're just getting towards the end of like the actual bear market and getting started with our just long accumulation phase. That's what it looks like. We'll see what happens. I'm not saying that you can't go lower and make new lows. I'm absolutely not saying that, but I'm thinking, things played out better than I thought. Things played out a lot better than I thought. We've seen things, that play out way better, than I thought. There was, it could have been a lot worse here. We'll see what happens, I think, as the S&P 500. I mean, we'll see how long that could rally. We'll see what the Fed does. If they only raise rates by 50 basis points, we're probably going to see a pump with everything. If it's 75 basis points, probably just the same stuff we've seen. And I guess in terms of short term, right now, I mean, I don't trade as much on the weekends, but you're hitting a point here. You do have these bullish signs, compared with your bullish divs and stuff. Your main bearish case is the daily. If these RSIs are getting high, these split RSIs curve down, but even here it didn't. You came up a little bit more, so we could be headed up more actually. And then your money flow crossover here, this could be the first one that gives us something nice. I think you're generally just going to be in the same area, but let's see. I mean, if it was like this trajectory, that's a 47%er. It happened right about there. Maybe top of that range, who knows, 19. ETH is volatile. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but there's some possibilities here. I'm definitely going to have to reevaluate this on Monday, though, but things are looking a little bit better. It depends, too, what happens at this area. Right here, we are pumping right now, getting that jump up. Not seeing too much of, hourly into the red. That didn't work out too well. Just right back up. Still could come down a bit, though. You definitely have to look at that, but we'll see that possibility. And then some of your lower time frames here. Nothing really looks to me at the moment like you have any reason why you're just going to come right back down. The market has changed. I know I said the other day it was looking like we were just going to come back down. And, it doesn't really matter from a trading perspective because I took the short there, caught it at the top, locked in profits, got stopped out, had another short, get stopped out, re-entered it. So right now I'm just, kind of watching, kind of seeing what's going to happen. I don't trade on weekends too much. So only if I really like what I see. But yeah, that's the new trajectory right now that I'm looking at, guys. Hope you got something out of this video, but it seems like we're heading into an accumulation phase at the moment. A lot of, unpredictable things that could happen. A lot of things that could make it that we go even lower here. We'll see what happens. But I hope you got something out of the video. Please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel if you are new. And check out the airdrop for BITGET down below if you want to trade. You need a VPN if you're in the US. It's only for experienced traders. And yeah, if you already have an account, you can create a new one to get the airdrop. All right, guys. Hope you have a good one. Goodbye.